in Microsoft and what we're trying to bring in the technology sector overall. And this is really about empowering every single individual on this planet to do more, to achieve more. And there are about 1 billion people with disability of some sort, and 70% of that is invisible. So for us, this is really about making sure everybody's empowered.
Okay, and that's a good way to thank you very much indeed, as we head now to the forum for the afternoon session, which is transforming user experiences with voice. So, Alexa, take us to the forum.
Awesome choice of music, by the way. That was actually mine and Max's, who you're going to be hearing from very shortly. By now, you're going to be familiar with every person on stage asking if you would like to download the IBC app. If you would like to, for this session, visit www.sli.do/Slido. And if you type in the code IBC 2019, you will be able to ask the esteemed Max some fantastic questions after we see his presentation. And he knows our digital assistant Alexa better than most people in the world. Talking of which, let's invite him on stage. Ladies and gentlemen, a lovely afternoon welcome to evangelist at Amazon Alexa, Max Amordeluso.
Thank you. Thank you, LJ. Hi, everyone. Very happy to be here. First of all, thank you to the IBC organization and to Heaton, who has been doing a masterful work or job just working with me on this. Let me first introduce myself. My name is Max Amordeluso, and I am part of the Alexa team here in Europe. I am an evangelist. That means that I do have the opportunity, the privilege of speaking about Alexa with anybody that is interested in voice user interfaces in Europe. And I will talk to you about a few things today, and there is mainly three things that I want to cover with you. What Alexa is and why you should be paying attention to this trend. What voice user interfaces can do for your customers, and what can you build with this specific technology. The second thing is the specificity of using these new tools that we do have to reach out to your customers in different ways, in different mediums, with video. As content providers, you might be interested in knowing how you can mesh this new interface with video opportunities to deliver your content. And then the third thing, which is one theme that I've been exploring for a while now, is how to use Alexa for interesting new use cases at the edges of the age spectrum. We'll see how Alexa can be used to build delightful voice experiences for young ones and older adults. So let's go see first about the vision. So the vision behind Alexa. So the vision behind Alexa was very close to that of the computer, of the entity, the computing entity of the Enterprise. The Star Trek with most of you likely are familiar. So a computing entity that knows a lot, is available in the ambient, is available without having to speak into a specific device, and knows a lot, and is interfaced with voice. And this specific opportunity to implement this vision that had been in the works for several years, that culminated in the launch in 2014 of the first Echo device in the US, it became possible for a number of reasons, numbers of factors, but three were some of the most important. So the first one, let's see. So we noticed, and a lot of us, a lot of the people in the technology industry became aware that when feeding big data to machine learning algorithms, phenomenal things happen. So we can predict patterns, we can forecast. So that was the first thing. So feeding big data to a machine learning algorithm. And it's very important because Alexa uses extensively these to change, to improve, to evolve the way that she understands human language. The second thing was the cloud. These computing operations number in the billions very frequently. And the virtually unlimited storage that you have in the cloud, the virtually unlimited computing power is essential. It's the only way, is a prerequisite that you get something like Alexa possible. And then the third, and perhaps the most important thing, is that the human factor, that voice is natural. So this is going to be core to to my message today. All of this is built on the fact that voice is natural. Voice is something that that is attached to humans. Humans know how to use it. It's not something foreign that we have to learn. It's not something new. It's nothing new. It's something that we possess. We have been using it for a long time. And now we know that our brains are wired, are built just to use voice to communicate. We gauge the development of young adults, or of young human beings, by the way they speak. That's one of the milestones that we do have. So we brought these three things together, and we started looking into making possible having a computer with which you can have conversations. And that was the birth of Alexa. That is available to us. But what is the drawback of that? Is that this technology has forced to change our behavior. We are changing our behaviors. Some of you are employing that behavior right now, right? So we've seen that this technology being so personal, it has changed the way that we do interact. Let's see first one of a few videos that I do have that will help me just to deliver the points that I want to make.
Alexa, play morning music.
Ever seen the light of day?
Alexa, tell me a sloth fact.
Sloths grow up to be about 27 inches in size.
There was neither day nor dark.
Everybody inside the bus actually was deep into their own personal space technology. So this is a big difference because things like mobile devices are personal even in social settings. Conversely, the voice is made exactly to communicate with others, and that's what we use. And this is a very important point, this societal component of voice that we're leveraging with Alexa. Now, how do you partake into this technology? So the vision behind Alexa is that to make Alexa available everywhere our customers want her to be. So to do that, we need to have a third party developing delightful voice experiences, for example, or putting Alexa into their products. So there are some stats that I will share with you later on that I will explain this fairly well, but it was from the beginning our firm intention to open up these frameworks that we do have to third parties to help us to use this ingenuity, the invention, the creativity of third parties, of developers, of brands, of manufacturers, of OEMs around the world, just to bring forward this voice revolution, this possibility to interact. So there are things like the Alexa Skills Kit. So this is how you build. There's a framework with which you can build experiences on Alexa. So an Alexa skill is the voice equivalent of a mobile app. So you want Alexa to become a newscaster, a voice game, a meteor service, a ride-sharing scheduler, and you name it, right? So this is what you use. You use Alexa Skills Kit to make it. And there is a lot of these apps like skills that are available. We have several APIs that you can leverage to make things more convenient for your customers. Or you can go full custom. If you have a specific need, a specific usage for your technology or services for your customers, you can surface this with this marvelous voice user interface technology that make things possible. Now, there is, in addition to the Alexa Skills Kit, there is also another framework that may be of interest to you. It's called Alexa Voice Service. So this is basically a set of tools that enable manufacturer of physical things to put Alexa in it. So as long as this physical device of any sort. It could be a wearable, like, as we saw, it could be a headset, a jacket, I kid you not, there is an Alexa-enabled jacket. It could be a lot of things. As long as this device, this thing, has a microphone, a speakerphone, an internet connection, you can build Alexa in it. Now, let's see a couple of those numbers that I promised you. So now there are hundreds now of third-party devices with Alexa built in. From the form factors that we saw, there are a lot of opportunities to interact with technology. Think about why should you have the possibility to give your customers an Alexa-enabled fridge. Let's say, for example, in my house, for example, I wake up a lot earlier than all the rest of my family, and I go downstairs, I have a cup of coffee. I would love to see the news on a screen, on a monitor, for example, and being able just to say, without having to fiddle with my mobile necessarily while I drink a cup of coffee. But you get the spirit. The possibility is here, and you should be able to give customers what they want, even things that they don't know yet, if they make sense. But remember, you always have to do something for customers. This is a very utilitarian approach. You have to provide a service that is specific for customers. Now, some of the stats, you can read them, but we're going into, now we're starting to get really a big momentum. And the momentum is continuing because we are expanding constantly these technologies to enable more and more developers and brands to build with Alexa. Now, I cannot stress enough how much I do believe that we are at the beginning of a phase of opportunities. Because if you remember that step image that I showed you earlier with the various interfaces, each one of those phases represented not only, obviously, new ways of interacting with technology, but it represented, more importantly for you, a set of opportunities. Lots of new companies were born at the beginning and during those phases, leveraging those new technologies. And that's where we are right now. So this is a new technology that is absolutely very appealing to customers and to users everywhere. There is a huge amount of interest, and the opportunity to build is not in 5 years, it's not next year, in 10 years, is now. So let's hear it from a proven entrepreneur such as Mark Cuban, what he thinks about this specific technology.
Where you're somewhere and you start to say Alexa, and you realize there's no devices around, and then you've got to pull out your phone and do something else. When that's more ingrained in people's mindsets and approach to life, if you're not there as an agency marketing, as a content provider, as a brand selling products, you're at a huge disadvantage. Now's the time to learn it. Now's the time to experiment with it. Now's the time to start using it, because you always want to take your risk when there's the least at stake. You know, it's like Amazon releasing it. When no one had any expectations for Alexa, there's nothing to lose.
Now, so as we heard, time is now, and you have a lot of tools. You can empower your teams with this technology. So there are agencies out there that are specifically specializing on creating and converting all the money that brands have spent, for example, for the previous campaigns, leveraging the existing channels. They can convert this to voice, for example. They can reach out. They can help you out. They can help you out creating these voice experiences. Now let's move on into the second part. How do we relate with the moving image or videos? The paradigm is voice first. All of the Alexa-enabled devices have to be working with voice. So this is the paradigm that we started with and that we are maintaining. But certain things are better with an image. There is a lot of things that are better with an image. Think about, obviously, entertainment content, or think about you're preparing something, a recipe by using one of the devices that has a screen, like an Echo Show in my kitchen, and you're just cleaned up a fish, and you want to know how is it supposed to look, the presentation. That's where you do have the meaningful experience of providing video for something that has been enabled by voice. Now, and how do you leverage this? So I recently heard the stat that in Europe and in the world, there is a lot of televisions, a lot more televisions than any other technology probably in houses. And some of you work with this technology. And there is a lot that can be done to mesh the possibility that are offered by voice user interfaces to interact with this existing technology. Think about how to enable these information-rich activities, such as getting weather information. Think about getting on one TV that is Alexa-enabled, the information coming from a Ring doorbell into the specific Alexa. So I'm sitting on my sofa, the doorbell rings, the Ring image from the doorbell from the door can actually be projected on the TV. Think about all the opportunities and the permutations that you can leverage with that. And you can build on these platforms by using something called Alexa Presentation Language, APL. We created from the ground up to provide that portability across visual real estate to give you the possibility to develop once and then run dynamically and adaptively in the specific medium that you're covering. Now, we also launched a few new things recently, as of last week, actually. One of them is Alexa Voice Remote, which had been on the market for more than a year now, and we brought it to France, Italy, and Spain. And this is a smart remote that can control tens of thousands of devices, of audio-video devices globally. So this is something that is already integrated and brings instantly the richness of voice control to existing television. Or think about that we launched, some of you might be aware, a new Fire TV Cube that is more than twice as powerful, that it provides a 4K Ultra HD and a few other things that are really, really valuable by customers. So these are things that we constantly work on because for us, in Amazon, we like to say it's day one. It is in voice, it absolutely is day one, because there is a lot to build, there is a lot to do, and we're constantly working on it. We are extremely aware that the challenges are large because the way that we measure this technology is the human-to-human conversation. So think about that. We're talking with a machine. Let's take a step back here. We are talking with a machine. So, yet we are superimposing to that conversation the same way that I would be talking with you, right? Which is amazing. So the bar is extremely high. So it is just absolutely day one. So let's move on then to the third part of my talk here. So how do you leverage? I would love to make you think or to inspire you perhaps to look into specific or age-specific voice experiences to be created. And there is something marvelous about the way that people, human beings, at both ends of the age spectrum relate with this technology. They just use it. They don't wonder how is it possible. They don't superimpose all the baggage of the people perhaps in the middle. They just use it very, very naturally. So let's see a couple of examples here.
Alexa, how many miles to the Andromeda Galaxy?
The Andromeda Galaxy is 14 quintillion, 931 quadrillion, 389 trillion, 517 billion, 400 million miles away.
And we do have three children in our house that have been using Alexa-enabled devices for a long time, for a few years. And for them, it's absolutely normal. It's absolutely natural. They do speak with technology. And so think about, if anything else, how this is going to develop. If newer generations here, if the generations that are young today are growing up thinking that it's absolutely normal to speak with things, to get things done, this is here to stay. There is no way that this is going away or this is going to be not become part of our fabric on the way we integrate with technology. Now, one point that I wanted to bring your attention to is that, so these are the marketplaces where Alexa is present. And anybody, virtually anybody from the world, can develop into this marketplace. Let me give you an example. Let's say that you are in Amsterdam and you do possess a specific services or products that you would love to deploy to Japanese customers. You can create an Alexa skill or a series of Alexa skills from Amsterdam, from anywhere in the world to address a specific market. So there is this global nature, this possibility that you can design these custom voice experiences and to serve them wherever you please. Now, let's move on to the older adults conversation. Now, 635 million people in 2017 have been estimated to be 65 years or older. 635 million people. And this is 2 years ago. And you know in which direction that trend is going. So we're getting older, which is great, right? If everything works, we actually get old. But the point is that when we get old, our bodies change, our minds change, our social networks change. So our needs do change. But there is one thing in common, for sure, is that our need for independence remains the same, perhaps gets even greater. So there is a lot of things that can be done here. And I'll give you a couple of ideas. And remember that aging is a worldwide phenomenon. So it's common to everyone. So, and it's things like taking care of older members of a family is a worldwide need, right? We all have to do it. So this is our parents, this is our grandparents, our siblings, ourselves. So this is something that if you develop use cases or experiences, you only have to localize it for the language. That's it. Because the use case is going to apply globally. So your market, your addressable market, even setting aside the marvelous nature of doing something for the older generation, even only thinking commercially, the addressable market is global because the use cases are going to apply to all of them. Now, I want to show you this video, and there is the quality is a little bit lower than the previous ones that you've seen because this is an actual homemade video. So this is Maura, is the grandmother of a friend of mine in Dublin. And see this a very short video, and then we'll talk about it.
Play Raglan Road on Spotify.
Resuming Spotify.
I saw her first and the news that her dark hair.
So the point with Maura, with this video, is that she uses Alexa extensively, but the very important point, I've watched this video more than 100 times. As of today, I still do not know what she's asking. I do not know, and that's a very important point, because Alexa does. Think about that. So it's marvelous, right? So I cannot understand that there's a Irish accent, but Alexa can. So Maura can have an interactions with this technology that is natural for her. She's not changing her accent to get understood by this technology. That's the most important point here. Speak naturally, and if we do things right, as we're striving to do, the experience remains natural. So that's the whole point. Now, going forward with a couple of use cases, think about the social isolation that comes with getting older. So sometimes older people, older adults, are physically able to remain living on their own, but they don't want to because they feel alone, right? And there is a very potential opportunity here to do something about it. Think about developing experiences that make it more natural to interact. Perhaps some can relate to the fact that we all have the good intention of speaking with our older or with our elderly, but is that always convenient? Perhaps not, right? But think about the ways of addressing that specific problem. Think about ways to being able to figure out the right time when it's good for both parties to actually have a social interaction. Think about the creating experiences that put older adults in touch with each other. Think about leveraging this natural component of entering the use of this technology for this specific purpose. Or also, think about just a very simple point that sometimes just talking, it's useful to fight loneliness, but we need an excuse to do it. So a lot of us talk. I'm told that all of us do speak alone, but I don't know that, of course. But what I know is that there is something in the frontal lobe that does us good in actually verbalizing our thoughts. And this technology has several advantages because it gives us a choice, it gives us a possibility to actually speak out loud. And think about the lack of frustration that this technology has. Think about an older person that might want to ask 15 times a day if the door is closed. You ask that to a human 2 times, 3 times, and then frustration sets in. With Alexa, it would not. So you can leverage all these opportunities. Now, think about increasing safety for those that might be living alone. Think about pill reminders. Think about connecting with services that provide healthcare at home, accessible with just by asking. Think about the naturality of that instead of having to teach the older adult a specific technology. As we saw with Maura, you can just speak, and the technology actually responds. Now, also, memories. Memories are an incredible trove of valuable things that often get lost in a great part with an aging mind, right? Think about perhaps developing ways of preserving those memories. And by giving them access, when is just the right time? Let's say somebody's having a cup of coffee, a cup of tea in front of an Alexa-enabled device, and then a picture is presented. And then the picture might be verbally annotated to solidify for safekeeping that memory. That could be at least for my family, it would be an enormous advantage. Think about ways of developing. Nowadays, there is a lot of science around what's possible, what can be diagnosed with voice, or how we can improve our neurological or cognitive fitness by using games and experiences. Think about this concept of cognitive fitness, which I absolutely adore because it doesn't presume that there is something wrong. It's not cognitive degeneration that we're talking about. We're talking about cognitive fitness, presuming that we're starting positive. So maintaining that fitness of our cognitive processes is possible with today's research and putting it together with this technology. Now, let's move on to the last video that I do have for you that kind of show us some of these ideas.
Look, Grandpa, I got you the Echo Show. You can ask it to play music or check the weather. Valerie, Valerie. Alexa, at 6 p.m., remind Grandpa your favorite dessert's in the fridge.
Okay, I'll set a reminder.
Alexa, play the song that goes Valerie.
Well, sometimes I go out by myself and I look across the water.
So there is nothing that is going to beat the human-to-human interaction. That's absolutely not my point here. But my point is that we can leverage this technology to do more, to put more people in touch, to make it easier to get in touch and to make it easier to interchange. And also, and I will close with this, let's not forget that we remain as silly as we were before, as fun-needing as we were before. Lots of opportunities to build entertaining experiences for this specific segment of the population. With that, I thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Max. That was a lot of fun, wasn't it? Okay, well, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to have a quick chat, and I can already see some questions coming in on Slido, so thanks in advance for that. Just a quick straw poll first. Could you please raise your hand if you have a smart speaker in your house, any kind? Okay, so I would say that's quite impressive. I saw a stat from the panel this morning saying only 10% of Europeans have a smart speaker, so we are quite an interesting audience. Max, there's one question that's come through. Obviously, a lot of people are going to wonder about Alexa and privacy, whether the devices are always listening. So should we just clear up the question of privacy and data first of all, please?
Sure thing. So let's talk about that. It's a question that I get a lot in Europe, and I love to talk about that because privacy and security and trust are extremely important. So we've been working a lot to maintain the trust that our customers have given us us for so many years. And we built a lot of layers to control, to give back the control to customers on these devices. So the first misconception is that Alexa listens to the keywords only. There is 4 keywords that can be selected. One is Alexa, obviously. One is Echo, one is Amazon, and my favorite, perhaps
Computer
yours.
from
Computer,
Star Trek, yes.
of course.
Although that doesn't work as well to invoke it, I've found.
It works.
It works, but
It
I
works.
switched it back to Alexa. So in case any Star Trek fans here, you can change the wake word on these devices to say computer, as Captain Picard would have done on the
Absolutely, and
Enterprise.
that- yeah,
so there are
so-
obviously some nerds working there.
Yeah, well,
But anyway,
so
we've
it's all
we've
of us,
distracted
yes.
nicely from the
Yes.
question of privacy there, but we're
No,
going to
no,
go back
but
to
let's
it.
go back into it. So the point is that Alexa listens for this wake word. It has a wake word detector on board that is local logic, and she does not stream to the cloud unless that wake word is heard from Alexa. Then the second point is that whenever she streams out, when she listens into the cloud, she gives a visual feedback, the blue light, right? So you've probably seen on your devices, there is a blue light, which could be a segment of a circle or a different form, but it's always a visual feedback that is very important. And then the third and extremely important is that you can control, every customer can control what Alexa heard from them. So there is, you can go into the app on mobile or on the web and check the utterances, and you can delete one, delete a few, delete them all. You can delete your history, right? Now, we hope that you keep it because these are data sets that Alexa, once those are anonymized, she uses them to understand more and more and more. So Alexa keeps learning to how we speak as humans. And then the fourth, there is a mute button on these devices, on the Echo devices, that actually disconnect the microphone electrically. So that is that.
Okay, brilliant, thank you. Human-to-human interaction, I think last year was 95% parity, which means that 95% of the time we can understand each other. When it comes to computers, we're not far off, I think, that 95% comprehension rate. The thing I find interesting about the Alexa platform, and you did it earlier, you referred to it as a she. I do it too. And also some research shows that the Alexa devices have different personalities, almost different personas, depending on which country you're in. So in the UK, it's more sort of genial and relaxed. In France, it seems to be a bit more matter of fact. And is this to do with comprehension? Is this something that's been sort of programmed in or learned and added over time? What's going on there?
That's an interesting question because so first of all, I don't know if it's true. 95% seems pretty high. Understanding person to person because that's not my experience personally. But besides that, so we can compare. I mean, when human beings speak with each other, they don't only use voice. They use their bodies, their history, the context, a number of things. We're pretty good in getting feedback from all these factors and kind of assembling a picture of the meaning. Alexa and computers don't have that. They only have voice, right? So the point is that when we compare 95% of humans understanding each other, the only thing we can compare is something like that we call ASR, automatic speech recognition. 95% is a pretty high rate, but the challenge, as I said before, is that we have to get the bar higher, 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 because exactly we compare it with people. We anthropomorphize this technology extremely easily. So it has been in our house for years, so we call her she, yes, absolutely. Now, the second part of your question about the personalities, we wanted to make sure when we created Alexa that there is more to create something like Alexa or Alexa for a specific country. It's not only the voice. It has to speak to relate in a ways that customers of that specific country will relate to. So we have to be locally relevant, and that voice, that accent, that humor, perhaps that you call it. We have a lot of very talented and very witty teams working on Alexa personality, indeed, yes. So it is by design to make sure that she can relate to the way that we speak in specific ways.
Yes, I do also refer to her as a she. In terms of the Alexa platform, I have had to play with the developer platform, and one of the things that's incredibly striking is that it does sort of dynamically learn. You can set up various ways to start something off, and then it starts to work out that if you say, I want to listen to this song, play this song? I like this song, can you play it? And it sort of populates itself. So there's obviously so many different things that you can build on this platform. Obviously, there's probably a few, well, I know this because I have a toddler at home, but there are quite a few applications for younger family members, including the ever-popular Animal game, which I can thoroughly recommend. But do you have any other examples?
Yeah, we do have a lot of examples because writing voice experiences for kids, for example, has a specific set of best practices that we notice should be implemented to make something successful. Kids do listen and speak differently than adults, as some of us know. So when you create a voice experience that only has voice, you have to leverage, you have to make sure that you do things. So you have to do things like specific prompts or specific duration. But there is a lot that is being built out there. So actually, there is a video that we can play, and then we can talk about it a little more that shows one of these examples. Very novel way of using this technology.
Alexa, open Kids Court.
Welcome to Kids Court, where everything unfair is finally brought to justice. All rise for the Honorable Judge Lexi. Do you want to settle a case or hear about previous trials?
Settle a case.
Prosecutor, please tell the court what happened.
Yeah, read my diary.
Kids Court was created for cases like this. Is the defendant present or absent?
Present.
Defendant, you're in trouble. What do you plead? Say guilty if you did it, or not guilty if you didn't.
Not guilty.
Cowabunga! This needs some further investigation.
So a couple of things that we've seen in this video. So first of all, this video is made by Adva Levin. She's the founder and CEO of a startup in Tel Aviv called the Pretzel Labs. She's also an Alexa champion, and she's also a winner of one of our challenges, specific kids challenges. We've seen several things here that I want to highlight. But so the first one is the engagement. Have you seen the naturality by which these three kids actually interacted with this skill? And this experience is that of changing Alexa into Judge Lexi. So this is the name actually of the character. Judge Lexi will make sure that she entertains by solving conflicts that kids occasionally or often have. Now, the second thing that I want to highlight, have you seen, I don't know if some of you might have noticed, the usage of guided prompts. So she said, how do you plead? And then there is an explanation of guilty, not guilty, because kids will need that specific prompting that is assisted just to enjoy fully the experience. Otherwise, they will disengage. They will just get stuck. So Adva's skill does exactly that in a very good way. So she drives that engagement, and she has a very good engagement. And then the third point, using sound effects. So you might be familiar with the phrase, a picture is worth 1,000 words. Now, the right sound is worth 1,000 words in this specific technology. So engagement comes also from using the right sound.
Brilliant. We have a few questions from Slido. One of them is, what age group do you think is the least likely to use voice interfaces? It's quite a good one.
Wow. I don't know.
Excellent. Okay,
actually, I don't know. I can tell you that, I don't think we have seen necessarily chopped by age. What I can tell you is that on the positive side, I can see an engagement that is very natural on both ends of the spectrum for this specific theme that I'm bringing about.
That's a very good attempt at the answer. Excellent. We've got another one about monetization. How does monetization work for developers? I can probably help this one because I've been in a situation where I've asked for something and it's asked if I wanted to subscribe to or buy a premium version of a skill.
Yeah, it's a great question because there are several ways of monetizing with Alexa. So there are, I would say, three main ways. So one is that you leverage something called in-skills purchasing. So the path or the flow is as follows. So you or your brand, your company create a skill, a custom skill, or any sort of skills really. Then you build, you add this monetization tool called the in-skills purchase or ISP to sell digital goods and services inside the skill. Think about premium content. Think about specific tools or weapons or items for a voice game that you might have, or extra lives if we remain in terms of games, right? And then you monetize them right there. You pass the information that you want, you set the price, and then you handle this information to Alexa, and she will negotiate a transaction. So, but let me open up a parenthesis here. You said something at the beginning in the way that we all speak, or anything else really. You might have donuts or coffee, and you can get that transaction on Alexa using Amazon Pay. You can integrate that. And then,
although you have to disable purchases if you have a 3-year-old that can operate the device, it turns out. But I see where you're going. It's this frictionless transaction.
Yeah, it's frictionless, exactly. The point is that, well, we have ways around that. We have things like there is a voice authorization PIN that needs to be used. The point is that, as you say, they're reducing friction to make sure that a purchaser can actually complete that transaction easily. And then we also see that there is a nascent, but very active market of agencies building skills for others. So building skills for brands and companies that might want to outsource that specific competency.
Mm-hmm. Brilliant. I will open the floor to questions in just a second. I'm just going to ask another one from Slido. Well, there's two. You can choose which one you'd like to answer. One is, how does Alexa deal with ambient crowd noise? And the other is, how do the Alexa challenges you mentioned work?
Okay,
I'll answer them both if you like.
I'll give it a shot to both. So, crowd. So we obviously there is a lot of engineering that goes into these devices. So the way, for example, and each one of the form factors, as you might guess, provides specific challenges and needs that needs to be addressed. But if we think, for example, to one of the first devices, the Echo device, the Echo has 7 microphones. It has an array of 6 plus 1, and each one of them has a segment of this circle, so that it can capture inside a room and pinpoint and create a cone of sounds to make sure that it can distinguish specifically the human talking to the machine. And we have this far field technology that we also make available outside. We have kits with far field technology that can be used to build into products. And then the second question.
The second question was asking about the Alexa challenges.
Oh, there is several of them. We do. This is one of the ways that we want to reward our developers to create engaging experiences on Alexa, and there is constantly running. And if you go to Alexa.design, that's a vanity URL that we have created. You can start from there and then get all the information that you want. There's a lot of material out there, a lot of knowledge that we're sharing, and just to make available to developers and to teams to create Alexa skills.
It's very wise, isn't it? Presumably, the more content there is, the more likely there'll be other people taking up the device itself, and then you've got more customers.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, I mean, I didn't say it in the beginning, but my experience before being an evangelist, I was general manager of Alexa Skills Kit, and the team that I ran launched UK and DE. And the fantastic challenge that we had in the beginning was not only to have an Alexa voice that could relate to the customer there, but also was to provide content that was relevant for those users in those countries, because there has to be locally relevant content. And one of these ways is actually that necessary is that to open up to third parties to leverage that ingenuity and that inventive character or possibilities to create experiences.
Brilliant. I'm just going to see if there are any questions. Please raise your hands. We've got time for a question from the floor. We've got one there.
Time now for some insight into